Hello and welcome to This Car Pod.
I'm Kennan.
I'm Filippo.
And today we're going to talk about cars, and I'm remote and in front of an elephant.
What's the elephant's name?
Do you want to name it right now?
Kennan, please name it.
I feel like Edward for some reason.
Edward.
Edward the elephant. I like alliteration, generally speaking.
This is Edward. We'll come up with a better name. There's a lot to discuss today. I am not here for the next few weeks, but I am here. Physically not present, but virtually present. And so we can still do our podcast. Filippo, you want to start us off with some news?
Yeah, I have the most exciting news of all today.
Okay.
I really thought I was going to talk about the Kia Carnival, but alas.
Thank God you didn't. There has been a cyber attack.
Yeah, on CDK, which is one of the largest dealer management systems.
And this picture is supposed to indicate a cyber attack. It's a cars, and then the top is green. It looks like that's like the future or something, right?
Also,
or radiation.
Where are these cars? Because some of these are European market and Latin American market only. That's a Chevy Equinox.
It's a report. There is a cyber attack. CDK, which
CDK, which is one of the largest dealership management systems, has had a cyber attack a couple of weeks ago. They shut down all access to it to prevent further issues. They claim that it will all be restored by July 4th, which is the day before this podcast goes out. So maybe all will be normal. But even as of a week ago, the estimate was that it had a direct impact of almost $1 billion in sales and other kind of revenues that dealerships will not feel as a result.
Exactly.
Basically, dealerships have had to go back to paper and pen to ink any deals, to make any offers, to actually transact anything.
Indeed. And in fact, it's CDK, it turns out, not just manages the sales component of these car dealerships, but also like the service department, back end stuff, like vehicles probably can't be registered. They can't, like people making an appointment for an oil change, et cetera. It's all gunked up.
Yep. And my understanding is the way that some dealers, by the way, this impacts some of the largest dealers, Sonic Automotive Group, Lithia, like a lot of really the largest dealer groups in the US. The estimate is something around like 100,000 vehicles that would have been sold probably have not been sold as a result of the cyber attack. And the dealers that have managed to sell cars are presumably writing it down on pen and paper or like in a spreadsheet and then will enter it in CDK once the time is ready. It's a weird situation.
JD Power estimates that June car sales suffered by 5% just solely due to the cyber attack. That's a huge amount.
Yeah.
It's a huge amount.
Kennan, what are you going to do to prevent future cyber attacks?
What am I personally going to do? Well, I mean, I'm not so worried. For me, a cyber attack when it comes to cars would be like my Bluetooth doesn't work on my M5. That's as close as it gets because my car doesn't have a lot of technology, and I'm just going to stick with my analog stuff. I don't know. It's just the reality of living in the modern age. It's going to happen all the time. It's just unavoidable, really.
The understanding is generally seems to be that CDK paid the ransom that the cyber attackers demanded.
No way. Cool.
They haven't verified this, but that's usually the understanding, which brings up a question. Presumably there'll be more similar cyber attacks, right? One is successful, they'll keep going. But they were put in a really tough position of shut down access entirely and prevent the loss of data, or retain access where they could. And I think they made probably the right decision, just shutting it down entirely. But the impact is 5% of the market for the month and $1 billion. And
the loss of trust with their product. I mean, do these companies still use them? If it's the big guys like Sonic and Lithia and them, do they still continue to use CDK? Obviously,
not a great alternative.
Would the cyber attack, if it hadn't happened, would that have prevented Kennan from wearing that shirt or?
No, nothing would have prevented me from wearing some new clothes. Thank you. I was waiting for you to mention something. I have gotten some new stuff, so thank you for that. Very useful for the audio listeners.
I think you look beautiful, like always.
Thanks,
okay, man. What is our next news topic? Please show us the picture. Oh, Volvo. This is one of my news stories. Volvo. There's a lot to talk about with Volvo. They sent me an email the other day. It was a personal email from their PR people, seriously. And they said, hey, just want to let you know, it was like very, soft language. The EX30, we're trying to enhance the experience for our customer, that kind of stuff. And they said, by the way, the EX30 is delayed heavily. Meanwhile, the EX90 is coming, but it will come without equipment, including driver assist, which will come via over-the-air update. So the EX30 is pushed back. The EX90 is coming, but without stuff. And that makes me wonder. I see Polestar 2s everywhere. You know where I'm going with this, Filippo? I see Polestar 2s everywhere.
No idea where you're going with this.
They're all rental cars. There's not a single person who has purchased a Polestar 2 in the last 9-10 months. And so it's like, why don't you, they've sold them all to budget. So it's like, why don't you just take the Polestar 2s and take whatever is making them, this is a simplification of the manufacturing process, and make the EX30 and the EX90 instead.
The problem for the EX30 has not been actual production. It has been all the technology issues. They've rolled out new infotainment. They've rolled out new software to control entire cars, and it's gone really poorly. In Europe, where they sold the EX30s, they have bought them back and refunded buyers because there were so many issues.
Great irony, of course, is that the EX30 was being pitched as an ultra simple car. Yep. It had like, there was only one screen in the middle. There were no stalks. There were no buttons. It was supposed to solve all of these problems.
Well, that only works when that screen works, doesn't it? Right? Like if you really mess that up, as seemingly Volvo did,
turns out it's complicatedly simple.
The screen is the most important thing in the car, and if they don't have that, then they're screwed.
It's kind of tough, right? I mean, the EX30 was supposed to come out. It did come out in some markets. It's delayed. Does that really matter? I don't know if people were paying that much attention to it. EX90 coming out without the safety tech is interesting. So I am currently, we have a Honda Civic here in the office, a Honda CR-V here in the office, because Ken and I are doing a video later today. Don't worry about it. And in 2023, technically this trim level has blind spot monitoring, but this does not, because in 2023 they had supply chain issues, and therefore they decontented cars and gave buyers $500 back. GM did it too. They didn't have power ports and outlets and things like that for supply chain issues. Yeah. So this has been a thing for a while, but we're past that point. So the fact that
I bought my Sequoia, with my Sequoia, they only gave me one key.
Right.
Then they're going to give me the other one later. But the problem is, if I'm leasing an EX90 and those features will come for 9 months and it's a 36-month lease, it's like, well, that's like a third of my lease. I didn't have the stuff I was paying for.
Also, Volvo made such a big deal about all the LiDAR tech and whatnot in the EX90. It was such a huge news story for people that aren't Kennan when it came out. And now it doesn't have that. That's a big omission when that's a selling point of your car.
Yep, it absolutely is. But that's coming out, and it's going to be beautiful.
You did a walk around review, but didn't drive it, right?
I haven't driven it yet, but neither has the self-driving tech.
Wait, before we move on from Volvo, the S60 is dead, according to your notes here.
The S60 is dead. They can't make S60s anymore.
Didn't we talk about this 2 weeks ago?
No, we were supposed to, but I didn't bring it up. Hey, Kennan, don't you think that they could just take the robots from one factory and move them and stop making Polestar 2s that nobody wants, and instead make EX90s that everybody wants?
For the record, the Polestar 2 just got a facelift. Still desirable.
Well,
thank you.
One with that's a dramatic oversimplification, but yes, that is the general premise.
Just put a Polestar 2 door on that EX30. It'll work.
You're missing the point. All you got to do is show up and teach the robot, hey, robot, make an EX90 instead. You upload that. It's a CD. You put the CD in the slot, and then he makes an EX90.
CD in the slot.
As a reminder for everybody, Doug originally thought he could build cars and bids on his own. He could learn how to code and build cars and bids on his own.
And I could have knocked it out on a long weekend with a couple of cold ones.
Would need a lot of cold ones. A lot of cold ones to do that.
All right, what's our next news story?
Oh, cool. This is the one I'm most excited about. We're going to talk about it for literally 30 seconds.
Good.
I want a hybrid minivan. I actually want a plug-in hybrid minivan. There's 3 options. Well, now there's 3 options. There were 2 till a week ago. Option 1, Toyota Sienna.
Yeah.
Option 2, Chrysler Pacifica plug-in hybrid. Excellent car, will run about 30 miles before breaking down.
Yes.
Not before running out of electricity, before breaking down fully.
Right.
But now there's the Kia Carnival, which has a facelift now. It's also available as a hybrid. Starting in fall 2024.
All right, next story.
Bully for you. Now we get onto some real stuff. So
probably weighs less than this too.
Yes, the new M5, the G90 generation M5 came out. Of course, we pre-recorded we pre-recorded last week's podcast, and of course the day after the new M5 comes out. But here it is. Now, there are some things to talk about with it. One is that it is very powerful, makes 717 brake horsepower and 1,000 Newton meters of torque, or 738 foot-pounds of torque.
What did the last one make?
The last one was less. I forgot the number,
less?
but it was definitely.
Including
but here's the problem. When you factor in this car's weight, which is what everybody's talking about, weighs 5,400 pounds. When you factor that in, it actually has only the 3rd best power to weight ratio, just above the E60 M5. The F90, the F10 had a better power to weight ratio than this car does. The F90 is very interesting in that they added all-wheel drive, but it was lighter than its predecessor, which is pretty wild. This car, it is not lighter. And this is the big thing everybody's talking about because its performance is worse. Its 0 to 60 time is quoted at 3.5 seconds. BMW usually tends to kind of under-report their cars, and they ended up actually being, or over-report their cars, and they tend to be faster 0 to 60 time. But regardless, it is slower technically than its predecessor, which is the first time I don't know of any other performance car in recent history where it was slower than the one it replaced. But it does retain a V8 engine, which is great, 4.4 liter turbocharged V8 engine. Sounds very familiar. And of course, they've added hybrid electric power to this car, which is how they've arrived at that power figure. They have said they're not going to do a performance trim of it, but I will believe that when I see it. I suspect they will do a CS, but as we were talking about, maybe the performance brand is something they want to get away from. They want to have an M5 and an M5 CS or whatever. Who knows?
The photo that you have there hasn't been docked. It looks like it's fatter. Even the picture, it looks like it's like two. I'm a huge apologist for the new M5 series. I love the new 5 series dearly. It's getting harder and harder to be an apologist.
It's 1,000 pounds heavier.
It is heavy.
Than the last one.
To be clear, I also agree. I'm not, I'm not like most enthusiasts where they say, "Oh, it's new, therefore I hate it." I think that it is. I think it looks fine.
It looks fine.
A wagon version is coming that we know, which will.
What would that be? 17,000 pounds.
Right, one wonders. But the performance is the big sticking point. But that said, we're talking about the most powerful M5 of all time, and it's a disappointment for a lot of people.
I'm sure it'll drive great.
Exactly. That's the thing.
But here's the thing. To hide that much weight, I think that it driving great will have to also be kind of numb. Like, it'll handle technically well. It'll be technically fast. But it's 1,000 pounds heavier than the last one. It's notably heavier than an S680 Maybach.
Yeah.
Like, how do you make it engaging?
Well, that car though is notoriously known for its handling prowess.
That's 580. That's 680 Maybach. Yeah.
Maybach. Yeah. I generally agree with you, Filippo, but I will say the automakers have done a really impressive job. Cars have generally gotten heavier over the years, and yet they all seem to still be faster around racetracks. So maybe BMW has a good job. Fun. What's that?
That's different than it being fun.
Well, the M5 is it's not fun. It's just for power and performance and going fast.
The Germans don't do fun. The Germans' whole thing is like, is it faster? Is it more powerful? Is it faster on a racetrack? Like, that's all they care about.
Of course, the answer is no. It is not fast.
I have a hard time really believing that. I agree with you that they're going to have to come out with a performance trim, but I suspect when you get it when you do a quarter mile next to the old one,
feels great.
That this one just has to be faster. It just has to be.
Well, and you have a great saying that all performance cars are the same fast, and it's 3.5 seconds to 60 is still very quick. And like I said, it will probably record faster times than that. I don't know. I personally withhold all reservations until I've seen it and driven it. Truly, like, I think you can have some opinions on it, and of course, the BMW M community is all up in arms about the car. But like, when aren't they, frankly? But I don't know. I still want to see it and drive it in person. But it is the figures that are being reported are unusual. It's a weird situation.
I generally actually really love when automakers go down in power or have their car become a little bit smaller or like decon them for a new generation.
Right. Well,
because I don't think we need to be in the war of like more power. There was a reason that the Japanese in the 90s all had 276 horsepower stated, right? Even if they're all faster than that.
You want a gentleman's war?
I don't think that it always needs to be more powerful, faster. It should just be better. But it being, I think in this class, it does matter that it's more powerful or faster. It's more powerful. It's not any faster. It's 1,000 pounds heavier.
I understand. Don't forget, the M5 is designed to bomb down, highways. That's what it is.
Well, it'll do that,
it's
and it'll crush through everything in its path because it weighs infinity.
Well, yeah. I don't disagree that the weight is obscene, and
is it? So I read somewhere that it weighs more than an X5M. Is that right?
Oh, believable. I believe that. I'm not joking that it weighs more than a S680, which is a higher class, higher content Maybach.
I do have to say I am happy that a V8 is retained for the M5. I thought for sure this one was going to have a turbocharged straight 6, and they were going to go back on the number of cylinders. Evidently, the engineers wanted to go full electric, but couldn't just because the performance wasn't optimized for the track, and they didn't want to do that, so they stuck with the hybrid, which I think is the right choice. Ultimately, we all knew it was going to go this way at some point.
The problem with not going full electric, though, is that you're running up against all these electric cars that just have better performance. Like, at the end of the day, this is slower than a Rivian. It's slower than a Hummer EV. It's slower than a Taycan. It's slower than a Plaid. It's like it starts to become kind of this thing where if you don't go full electric, it's like, well, okay, so what do you have? And then instead they go partial electric, which added 1,000 pounds to the car. And it's like, so you've kind of messed it up anyway.
Right.
It's really not
you could have chosen one or the other, and instead they chose neither.
Right.
BMW. And I'm sure it will be very reliable in the long run too, as all M5s are.
Regardless, we were all a little skeptical of the new M5 in a way that I think we haven't been. I mean, we're always a little skeptical of the new M5 or M3 or E63 or whatever. But this one is it's like they're really challenging us this time.
It's a hard one to defend, admittedly. Even as an M5 diehard, it is tough. But
since M5 goes down as the all-time great. Okay, give us the next news story, Filippo.
This is actually going to be a Kennan's. I asked Kennan to talk about this yesterday, and Kennan's reaction was
exactly what you would expect. So you see on your screen, this is a Pagani Huayra. Now you're asking yourself, why are we talking about this car? It's gone out of production. It's been replaced by the Utopia. Why are we talking about the Huayra? Well, they're doing an epitome version of it. They're going to make one of these. And its main feature, in addition to some different styling, is that it has a manual transmission. Now I thought to myself,
this is a single. They're going to make one car.
One car. Now, of course, the new car, which looks very similar to the old one, is offered with a manual transmission. So who cares about this car? It doesn't make any sense. And like, I get that they continued making the Zonda in one-off editions forever, but that was cool. It had an NA V12 and they offered it with a manual, and the Huayra was all automatics. But they've decided to make one for God knows what reason, and they've decided to continue producing this car.
Kennan, I'll tell you what reason. There's some rich customer who's commissioned it, and it's $10 million, and it cost them $3.5 million to make. And so they're going to do it for him. And they sign an agreement with him that they won't make any more because he gave him $7 million in straight profit. That's the thing. Yep. That's what happened.
But why not then just make a one-off version of the next car? It's just, I don't know. Pagani does this.
It has a manual.
Yeah, I guess.
It's the epitome edition.
It's the epitome.
It's the epitome.
It's the epitome of wind.
I'm surprised that your reaction was as visceral as it is, because they're adding a manual to a car that
well, it's just a nonsense car. Like it's just ridiculous. I get your point, which makes a lot of sense. But like if BMW for the last version of the E38 made a factory manual 740i M Sport, you would have loved it.
Yep,
that's
I do agree though that it's something a little different when it's just another one of these $10 million rich guy cars that we're never going to see, and it's like, all right, you did it, cool, we'll move on. I also agree with you, Kennan, that like, okay, you made one stick Huayra, but the Utopia is all stick, and so like this rich guy's going to go around being like, I have the stick Huayra, and it's like, okay, nobody.
How really different does the Utopia look?
It looks the same. You would not be able to tell the car. You would not be able to tell the car.
Doug, this came up and Doug thought it was the same car. Which is
absolutely thought it was a Utopia. I don't like Pagani.
You're not wrong.
And other than that, I'm not into Pagani.
Yeah, the Zonda is the one that lives in our hearts and minds rent free.
There has never been a car. The entire brand was owned by such tasteless human beings as Pagani. There is not a single Huayra, and I'm not exaggerating. There is not a single Huayra that has been spec'd in a manner that is tasteful. Not one. And they've made probably 300. There is not one Huayra. Google Pagani Huayra if you want to. Go. You can do this at home, everyone.
Can you tell them how to spell Huayra, please, Doug?
There's an H in there and all sorts of other vowels. It's like Sequoia. They got every vowel in that damn name. Google Pagani Huayra. Yeah. And then go to images, and I challenge you to find one that doesn't look like the kind of thing that some guy who is going to be indicted next week for crimes has configured. They're all heinous.
Yeah, you got a point there. Yeah, they're all pretty bad.
There's some silver ones. Those look okay. But I've never seen one like that was Pagani being like, you can make it silver. But then the rich guys showed up and were like, can I have green with a lower half in red and a blue interior?
That is exactly what happened. And then they got indicted.
And the car had to be sold by the federal government at auction.
To some other tasteless person who would, it's the circle of life. Then they would get indicted.
It's a circle of tasteless life. All right. Do we have any other news stories?
No, that's it.
I think that's all.
All right. We're going to move on to talking about cars.
Kennan, Douglas, start us off. You just drove across the country.
Yes, you have the bigger story.
You stayed in a pyramid.
I drove across the United States in a Toyota Sequoia. And I stayed in a Bass Pro Shops. You ever?
I'm familiar.
You ever stay in a Bass Pro Shops, Filippo?
Not past closing hours.
Not that I can say publicly, no.
There's a giant Bass Pro Shops in Memphis, Tennessee that is a pyramid. The pyramid was originally built for a hockey team or a basketball team or something. And then it got converted into the world's largest Bass Pro Shops. And it's also a hotel. And when I called to book the reservation, I have to call. I can't book it online because I have my dog with me and I have to tell them. And when I called to book the reservation, they said, do you want an indoor facing room or an outdoor facing room? And I thought to myself, I want to see this thing. I want to see this Bass Pro Shops for myself.
Yeah.
So I got an indoor facing room, which actually turns out to be cabins. They have built cabins that almost look like they're suspended from the pyramid all throughout the inside of the hotel. And so I didn't just stay in a room. I stayed in a cabin inside of Bass Pro Shops. And unbelievable experience all around.
Yeah, that is one of the most outrageous statements you can possibly say. That is something you never imagined in your whole life, that you'd say you stayed at a cabin in a Bass Pro Shop with your dog.
Had like a balcony, right?
Yeah, it had a screened porch. I swear to you, it had a screened porch.
What's it screened against?
You have at Grandma's cabin in Tennessee.
Were there bugs inside?
No, they wanted to. It was about the mood. It was about the atmosphere.
Yes, because nothing adds mood quite like screens.
How many fishing poles were in the screen porch?
There was no fishing poles, but the number of faux animal things inside, like I slept under a deer head. Like the tap was a duck, you know what I mean? Like it was one of those kind of things. Like it was, and the light switch was a quail, et cetera. The pheasant.
Did they dim like the lights of inside the pyramid and play like night animal noises?
You know what was? It's interesting you mentioned that. You know what was upsetting? I was excited to go to sleep to sound of the waterfall inside the pyramid because the world's largest Bass Pro Shops has a waterfall inside, so you might imagine. But you know what I went to sleep to instead? Of course, I left the door open because the screened-in porch kept out the bugs. You know what I went to sleep to instead was the sounds of the cleaning crew buffing the floors because. I swear to God, I look out over my screen porch, over my Bass Pro Shops empire, and what do I see? But 4 people in there mopping and sweeping and the floors. And it really kind of took away from the mood, to be honest.
Can I ask you a Sequoia-related question? Because we are.
Yeah.
How many Sequoia TRD Pros were at the parking lot for the Bass Pro Shops?
I haven't seen a Sequoia TRD Pro since I left Southern California.
What?
No one has them.
Including at the parking lot of the Bass Pro Shop in Memphis, Tennessee. That's legitimately surprising.
That car did well, man. On that road trip, people in Tennessee and Oklahoma were like looking at it like, yeah, man. Yup.
How did the car do? How did the car do generally?
It was great self-driving. Fuel economy is pretty bad, but it was a wonderful cross-country trip. Very easy, no issues. The only thing that happened was that there was a tire blowout in front of me at one point in New Jersey, but other than that, it was pretty easy.
Typical New Jersey experience. Were you on the cars and trucks section of the New Jersey Turnpikes or the cars only section?
I only drive on the truck side. That's a tip that I shouldn't be sharing, but the truck side is always faster because even on the truck side, they keep the trucks out of the left lane. And so you can, and also you can go 1,000 miles an hour because the police aren't really paying attention to the truck side.
It is the better side to be on, without a single doubt.
Not that I did, Kennan.
Of course,
he's driving a responsible family SUV.
Right.
He drives the speed limit.
And I did not discover that it tops out at 109. I didn't find that out on the trip at any point.
That's like VMAX of 109.
That's like the speed limit in Texas, though, so that's fine.
Well, yeah. Well, it's on all terrains too, so I don't know if that's a tire-related speed limit, but 109 is where they stop the fuel. Speaking of our own vehicles, Kennan, can you tell us about your M5?
Yes, I'm pulling out my phone because I want to get this number right. But I recently put a down payment on the next service. So I paid Ryan from E39 Source my parts that I'm going to replace on the M5. I want to describe a little bit of what I'm doing to it so you understand. So there's some kind of extraneous stuff replacing fender liners. They're plastic and have broken down over 20 years. They're starting to fall apart and like chip away just due to age and being hot here.
Fender liners, you said?
Or fender liners and some underbody trim.
What does fender liners and underbody panels cost? Just tell me that.
Okay, the front fender liner on the left side is $376.88 for just that. And
how many are you replacing?
4, right? Yeah, 4. 4 of them. But they actually get, that's the most expensive one. The rest are like $200.
$1,600 into fender liners.
Well, the rest are like $200, but still.
Show me Filippo's reaction to this. You believe, Filippo, are you astonished by this?
I ceased to be astonished by Kennan's.
There's more.
Decisions.
So that, yeah, I'm doing this.
Fender liners, you're out of your mind.
Then I'm doing the fuel filter, some diagnosis on the front axle. This is the big service. It's getting new rear wheel bearings, hubs, axles, and H-arms. The H-arms have to be replaced because there are bushings in them that cannot be replaced.
Neither Doug nor I know what that is.
Yeah, people in the audience know, but you guys won't.
The H-arm? Damn, I'll tell you, my car, I replaced with K-arms just the other day.
Nice, very nice. The axles just showed up, which I'm very excited about. Evidently, I asked Ryan how.
You're replacing the axles?
Yes, the boots are starting to split in their original at 235,000 miles, so it's time. They're like due. They're ready.
Tell us the total cost of the parts, Kennan.
There's much more on this list.
I happen to already know the total cost of the parts.
What is the cost?
Cost of the parts so far, $6,819.80.
Yesterday, you said it was $5,800.
I added it up wrong. Something I forgot to add in there.
1,000 here, 1,000 there. Kennan.
Right.
Kennan.
I got to stop doing this.
Those are the parts, not the parts and labor.
Yes, the labor will come later. The labor is substantial.
Ryan will find 10 other problems. This is going to be a $20,000 service on this car.
We'll see.
Thankfully, the car is worth $23,000. Right. So
I don't think it will be. Yeah, I don't think we're going to find a whole lot more. I'm doing these projects as large scope as possible to catch as much stuff as I can. But
what is the total cost of the service going to be, Kennan?
About 12, I think is probably what it's going to be around there.
And for those that,
what's that? I missed that one.
What did you spend last year on the car?
13.
Hey, it's consistent at least.
Filippo, you're there with him. You got to talk him out of this.
You've met Kennan. He's wearing that shirt, which is great. But like, he's not gonna not. He's not gonna not do it. For those that haven't watched, Kennan has a video on the Cars and Bits YouTube channel where he documents what he's spent so far in his ownership of the car.
Yes,
we're at $60,000.
It's about $60,000.
So we'll be at like 75.
This will take it over 70.
Because the video probably made $37, and so it's you know what, we're starting to
claw it back.
Is that now another 13 is added to the total? This is in addition to the 60 you've already spent, isn't it?
Yep.
Yes.
Kennan.
We'll be at 75. I'm gonna just round it up.
Yeah, this
for a 235,000 mile.
That's what it takes to keep it going. I mean, it will do another 100,000 miles without too many issues. Like at this point, like that's the whole point of the service. The thing with the service is, Kennan,
because you just put $25,000 into it in the last 12 months. You could have bought another one.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Lower mile one.
But the thing is, by buying another one, it would also need, most of the stuff that's being replaced is due to use in detritus, so it would need to be replaced anyway. Like all the bushings dry out and crack. You got to do those. The engine leaks. The rod bearings need to be replaced. The van assist needs to be replaced. I've done all of it already. And so like buying another one doesn't necessarily solve those problems. I'd still have to do them at some point or another. And low mileage doesn't necessarily help either because stuff dries out and it gets old and it cracks and it leaks anyway.
Kennan, I'm going to buy you. There's that Honda CR-V in the office right now. I don't know why you have it. Please try to purchase it from whoever gave it to you. Get rid of the M5. Live your life in a more reasonable manner.
Kennan, the cost of this service will be more than all but one vehicle I've ever purchased.
Well, that's not a great comparison. You've purchased extremely cheap cars.
Those vehicles, I had my Ford Focus paid $8,800. Owned it for 5 years.
Yes, I'm sure there must have been stuff that did not function on that Ford Focus. Your tolerance for stuff that doesn't work versus my tolerance is very different. I have no tolerance
I certainly
for things
would not
that
replace the underbody panels just because you might not be able to find them 5 years from now when you actually need to replace the underbody panels.
Is that why you're doing it? They're not even damaged?
No, they are damaged and like chipping and falling apart. Like the one has come apart from the fender and no longer like sticks to the car. Like I'm losing compose. Like there's some that are held on there with zip ties. I'm losing.
This car has like an enormous amount of paint fade. So like it's cosmetically, it's rough.
It's not an enormous amount of paint. The door handles are paint faded and the hood is a little tight. But other than that, yeah, cosmetically, I'm not going to. I am getting tired of doing this. Like I am getting tired of putting tons and tons.
What do you mean? Admittedly, you're getting tired of spending $13,000 a year, Kennan. You're spending $1,000 a month on this thing. Like what could you get for $1,000 a month? A lot of stuff.
Yeah, probably a lot of stuff.
You could drive, those videos they do on TikTok where they go around some dealership in Oklahoma asking everybody what their payment is? Filippo knows.
Month.
You could be driving a Grand Wagoneer, probably.
Right. Yeah. Again, bully for me. But it is. Yeah. And just looking at it, it's like I guess the problem is I still just love it so much. Like that's the problem with the car is that it is so rewarding in my life that I justify spending this kind of money on it. But I do realize, like as an adult, like I gotta slow it down.
Can I just throw something out there?
At your age, Filippo, pull out one of those interest calculators. 13 grand at your age.
Yeah. But that's not the direction I'm going to go in here. Think about it this way. $1,000 a month probably gets you a CD5B Blackwing.
That's so true.
And it would probably still be under warranty, would need no maintenance. Straight trade. You could do that tomorrow.
Yeah. Nah, I love my M5.
You have the parts. You may as well do that. But
yeah, I love my M5. It's sticking around, but I do think I do think it needs to be retired from daily use duty. Like I just don't want to put wear on it as much anymore. I know it's a 235,000 mile M5.
Doug, tell him that
it's like 75 grand, and when he retires, and 60 grand, the money he's put into the car, which is now $73,000 at Kennan's age, in 30 years would be worth $420,000 when he retires.
Yes. You should spend money for the things that you love. I don't, but you should.
I do, yeah.
But here's the thing, Kennan. You can't then retire from daily use.
Yeah, I mean...
you're like the Corvette owner that buys it, never drives it 3 miles, like, oh, I'm going to just store it for when it's
I'll
more
probably
special.
just keep driving it, but... I don't know.
You should get
there's a lot. I'm struggling with a lot of internal conflicts related to this most recent big service. And I told Ryan, it's like, I'm getting kind of tired of spending all this money on this car. Even me, after all that I've been through with it and how much I love it.
Have you ever thought about an Acura TLX, one of those Tiger Eye ones?
No.
I agree with Filippo's point about a Blackwing. You could be driving around a Blackwing right now, and honestly, they're not depreciating much. And you probably could have been driving a Blackwing this whole time. You could have like adaptive cruise and Bluetooth and the same 6-speed manual V8, and you would dust
and less fuel economy. As I think about it, it's the only gasoline powered car I've ever experienced range anxiety in was the Blackwing. But all those points are things I'm thinking about, but I just don't want to get rid of it. I just adore the car. I worked on it this weekend with an actual cold one, and I worked on some stuff with it, and I saved myself some labor costs from E39 starts there. I had to replace the hood latch because being a BMW, I pulled it so many times it's broken, and so I replaced that, and I was just working on it, and it was an absolute pleasure.
What did the hood latch cost?
Oh, that was the hood. It's a Bowden cable, and that was it was less than 100, I think, for that. And I replaced the lower cabin air filter because there's a thing on it that broke that holds the hood sensor. So it's like something that and it's bad design, sits right over the headers. That needed to be replaced. So I replaced that too, and that was also like $100. It wasn't very expensive.
How many hours did you spend on it there?
Because I've done this before, it was like an hour. It
You've
genuinely
done
was an hour.
before the hood cable.
Yeah, this is not the first time. I mean, it's a bad design that it articulates in a weird way. Like all of the cables slide except for where you pull the handle. It twists because it pulls the cable kind of in a crescent motion, and so it snaps there regularly. In my opinion, it's something that if you take care of your M5 and you open the hood a lot, you need to replace it every 5 years or so. It's not bad, but it only took me an hour.
Meanwhile, Filippo's driving around and his interior lights don't work.
Right. This is. Yeah.
I want you over the summer. I want your summer goal to be to learn a little something from Filippo about living with discomfort.
Your fuse goes out and you need to replace it so you can have brake lights. You don't need cabin lights. Yeah, the fuse is $2, but
No, it's not. A fuse is 13 cents. But
yeah, but you only need one. It's $2.
Well, I guess in that case, it's good that I have extra fuses on hand at all times, just in case something goes wrong.
Watch out, Kennan. He's going to break into your car and steal a damn fuse from you.
Well, he wouldn't know where they are.
We got to move on from this ridiculous topic, although I am astonished by this whole thing, and move on to Filippo, who's leaving us next week. Filippo will be completely, not just dialing in like I am, but gone for a while.
Yeah, I'll be gone for 3 weeks from this podcast.
Wow.
I'll miss you all. I'm going to be driving about 2,000 kilometers around Italy. Not for the first time. I have a history of going to Italy and visiting. A lot of my family still lives there, visiting them, driving around. But we'll do about 2,000 kilometers.
So this will be 2 Mille Miglias you're doing
2 Mille Miglias, and in a Renault Clio or Peugeot 208 or Ford Fiesta or similar.
Wow. Or similar.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know. Some subcompact
vehicle.
BS vehicle.
Something that whatever Europe car has on hand that day that was returned by somebody who rented it only so he could steal the tires for his own Peugeot 208.
For a bunch of weird reasons, we're renting this from a small local Hertz branch in a small town outside of Milan. It's going to be interesting. You go to the airport, you get good ones.
This is a Hertz rental, and you're at the mercy of whatever they happen to be sitting on at the moment.
Correct. My only requirement will be that it's a manual transmission car, because I feel like in Italy I need to have a manual transmission car.
Kennan, here's how Filippo rents a car. Well, here's how I rent a car. They go up, they say, Mr. DeMuro, for an extra $37 a day, you could be driving around in a Mercedes S-Class. Oh, yeah, okay. I don't even think. They say to Filippo, sir, for an extra $5 a day, you could have airbags. $5? Are you crazy? Would never spend that.
There was like a 20 or the last time when I booked it, like a $50 total over the course of 3 weeks difference to go up a class. But I don't want that.
Mr. Bulgarelli, for an extra €3 a day, you could have transparent windows.
Right. Yep. No, it's okay. I'll stick my head out the window.
Italians drive by feel.
In the last 5 years, I've been to Italy, I think 3 or 4 times, and I had a Lancia Y, which was horrible, diesel, a Fiat Panda, which was great. My now wife and I, we got engaged on that trip, but we did, I think, 4,000 kilometers in 3 weeks, which is like more than Italians drive in a year, to be honest. Right. People looked at us like we were insane, in a Fiat Panda, which was great. It was lovely. And then we had a Volkswagen T-Roc because we had to carry more people. Nice. But I'm hoping for like a Peugeot 208 has that tiny steering wheel. It'd be kind of cool.
He's never heard of any of these cars.
No, I've heard of the 208. I know some.
I want like something quirky and weird.
He's never heard of a Volkswagen T-Roc in his life. He doesn't have
heard of it. I couldn't tell you what it looks like, but I've heard of it.
I'm live in fear that I will get a hybrid automatic one, or that they will only have like a Fiat Grande Punto, which came out 13 years ago and hasn't changed since.
You know, if we have this pact where I'm going to live with some discomfort and be more like you, can you reciprocate and try to be a little bit more like me and spend like a little bit more?
That's a great idea. That's a great idea.
I live with a little bit of comfort instead of all discomfort.
This is comfort. I could have gone for the smallest class. And I did.
You guys can both stand to get a little bit more. He like does this because he wants to. He's like people who have a GT3 RS. You know, I daily this. I put up with it because I'm hard.
You're driving around Italy. We go to a lot of small towns. Big car is a problem, as Doug learned when he crashed his minivan into things.
One thing.
One significant thing, but one thing.
You want a small car. You want to fit in. You drive around a subcompact. That's what everybody else does.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong entirely, but it would be nice to get a little bit more comfort. Like, I hope you have Bluetooth.
No, we will. All these cars at this point like have CarPlay or Bluetooth at the very least. They're all legitimate. I
will say, Filippo, your point about the manual transmission. The last few times I've gone to Europe, and granted, I don't rent cars in this size class, but I don't like that van I had was the crappiest van that exists. They give you automatics now without asking. Like it's not, and I even. They even said to me, the last time I was there, they even said to me, you can have manual or auto. You want auto, right? Because they assumed because I'm an American. I was like, I don't care. And they still gave me an auto.
I have an Italian sounding name. I speak in Italian to the people. They give me what I asked for. A couple of years ago, I went up to the desk.
They know who I am.
And they were going to give me a Ford Fiesta. And I was like, no, I want an Italian car. So they gave me a Panda.
Okay, we got to move on. We've covered this. Filippo, you're going to have to fill us in about what happens. I hope you're not killed.
Thank you.
Actually, we need to move on now to the market report. Market report, brought to you by Cars and Bids,
the ultimate online auction website for modern enthusiast cars.
We're sponsoring our own podcast, 1980s and up cars. Sell it on or buy it on Cars and Bids, the finest marketplace on the planet.
You can sell for free. Get started at carsandbids.com/sell-car.
There's 2 market report things I want to talk about. One of them is actually yours, Filippo. Go ahead.
All right. I, as you all know, want a C7 Corvette.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard to find a manual C7.
You know what? You had this on our topic list 2 weeks ago, and I was like, he's an idiot. And so I started looking. You're not an idiot. No. They were all tip. Why?
And like, this is true on our site, although we have more manuals than most, but it's true on other auction sites. It's true in the classifieds.
The reason we have more manuals than most is because they're all Z06s.
Yeah.
If you factor out Z06s, they are all tips, and I assume you don't want a Z06.
No, but like
Tip.
automatic,
Tip.
automatic,
Tip.
automatic.
Wow, they really all
Like,
wait. So we sold 85, right? So how many? Let's.
It's all there's. Yeah, I mean, let's find out.
So of the 85,
54.
54.
Dude, I'm telling you, if you factored out Z06s and just search for regular C7s, I bet it's 54 out of like 64 or something like that. It's wild.
It's true everywhere. It's true on the Corvette forums. It's true in the classifieds. Like everybody bought automatics, and I don't.
You know why?
Yeah, because they're all old and can't
exactly. It's
use
all they're
their
owned
left
by
leg.
old people.
Long time ago, when it first came out, I drove a press car stick. It was nice. It's a nice trans. You would like it. It's a heavy clutch. It's a tight
7
manual.
speeds. Good highway cruiser gear. The autos also, by the way, for those that are curious, changed from a 6-speed to an 8-speed after the first year. But I don't want an automatic one. But that's all you can find. That's all you can find. Now, luckily, there doesn't seem to be that much of a demand difference for manual ones.
Prices
aren't that different, but you just can't find them.
How weird.
That is
Very
so bizarre.
frustrating.
Yeah,
so if you have a manual one, in like a month, hit me up.
It was like they were prepping us for the arrival of C8 and just like only threw tips at the C7. But you're right. They're very, very, very hard to find stick C7s that aren't Z06s or ZR1s.
I hate, there's a part of me that thinks that instead of being cheap and buying the cheapest like manual C7, there's a part of me that's starting to consider whether I should get like a late manual Grand Sport or even Z06, even though I don't want a Z06. I think that they will retain value.
What, C6?
A C7, Z06, or Grand
Oh,
Sport.
you're saying actually go up.
he's going to spend some real money.
I think that they
he's
retain-
taking the pact. He's going
I'm
to spend
thinking
more
about
money
it.
on a car. Look at this.
But like, it's the last
Him
manual
as
Corvette.
Z06 though?
No, I don't actually want a Z06, but like a manual Grand Sport late one would be cool. And I think that they'll retain value because it's the last manual Corvette and nobody bought them. So I'm starting to ponder it.
I don't think it's going to like retain value like a CTSV wagon, but I have a suspicion it's not going to get killed. And people are going to find the same thing that you're finding, which is you can't find sticks.
Yeah. I think automatic Grand Sport will be killed because now C8s are 55. And like, why get an auto C7 when you can get a C8 for the same price? But stick ones.
If you're really into the front engine thing, I guess.
But
wow,
again, if you have a manual C7, especially if it's 2014, 2015, really cheap, 1LT, 2LT, let me know.
Miles, maybe a bad Carfax, Filippo's interest, maybe you lost the roof.
And you have to be also local.
Yeah, it needs to be within like 10 miles of my house.
So if that person exists, hit up Filippo. And he, by the way, if the car's worth 33, he'll offer you 26.
I will say a very kind person after I reviewed Sean's Cayman emailed me and said, hey, I have a 987 Cayman that I have not been driving. I live in San Diego. I'd be interested in selling it to you. Which was very nice of them. I said no because I decided that I didn't want a Cayman. But like people exist. They were within like 5 miles of my house.
I have to say, thank you to people who reached out with Viper recommendations. There were a couple people sent listings. Unfortunately, none in California. They were all on the East Coast. But I very much appreciate it.
You gonna do it? You gonna do it? Somebody reached out with a great Viper in North Carolina. That Kennan, you gonna do it or not?
I'm still thinking about it right now.
Well,
I'm more upset about my. I just have to do it, I guess.
Take the $13,000 that you're going to spend on underbody panels that you can't even see. Don't do that, and instead buy a Viper.
You're like halfway there after the service.
Yeah.
I can't believe that Sam and Nick let you do this. If I had been there, people make the worst decisions when I go away for the summer. I've only been
parts
there
months
10
ago,
days.
Doug.
No, not months ago. It was weeks ago, but still. He was here when I were. Maybe you weren't here. I don't know where you were. You were somewhere.
This is unbelievably frustrating. The other market report topic that I want to discuss before we move on to Q&A is the E82 BMW 1 Series. Kennan, please type E82 into the search bar there.
I agree with this already.
Thank you. Something hit me the other day. The E82s are absolute deals. And you can get a very nice 135i with a stick, which is basically the best E82. I mean, the 1M is obviously really nice, but you can get a 135i with a stick for 12 to 17 with decent miles. 135 ISs, which are even cooler, are not a significant premium.
No, 15 grand.
Yeah, that's a great car.
I have a suspicion that this car goes down as sort of a modern day E30. And in 15 years, we'll be like, man, remember when you get one of these for 12? Like we all talk about how you used to be able to get E30s on Craigslist for $3,000 and now you can't. The E82 is such a cool car. It is wonderfully sized. This powertrain was great, not reliable, but great. It's fun to drive and sticks are very plentiful. You can get convertibles or coupes. Like this is a cool car for this money. I really mean that.
I agree with you. Having driven them, they also sound great. The handling is amazing.
Look good.
Good aftermarket support too, if that's what you want to do. But like, yeah, I think that they're really compelling cars. Like, I think they get kind of overlooked because the styling is a little bathtubby, is how people describe it. In the 1 Series,
love how it looks. Yes, but I think when it's a little BMW with a stick, rear wheel drive, and good power. Like, we're gonna get past those looks pretty soon. We have for all the other BMWs.
I also don't think it looks bad, to be honest.
I agree. I actually have always liked the way they look. I think they're really cool.
I think it's aged pretty well. You get some flared fender action. You got like look at that little size. Like this car is going to go down as a cool BMW that is a absolute bargain right now, considering its level of performance.
I agree. I'm with you. Everybody should buy one.
One of these, Filippo.
I hadn't really been thinking about it, and reliability scares me a bit. Kennan has reliability.
You have some issues. Yeah, you've got because this engine, you have like high pressure Vanos line problems. You have fuel pump issues. They're not perfect. I think there are aftermarket solutions, generally speaking. And if you don't mod it like crazy, the engine won't blow up. But
how's the convertible like handling wise?
Fine. This is not for you. Get a V8. You want a V8.
Kennan is all in on my needing a V8.
He wants torque. Get a V8.
This motor has great torque though. The N54 is a torquey motor, especially for 2011. That was before everybody else figured out turbos and torque.
It does, but he wants a V8. Like,
you should get a V8 and you should get a V10, and we should all cruise down the coast in our manual, big old engine cars before the government takes it away from us.
This is a good call out, Doug. People should buy E82s.
Yep.
Also, tip ones that have miles are like 8, which I know they're tip and they have miles, but like this car is a pretty good car, honestly, for the money that it transacts.
This manual 128 was $5,300.
Something was wrong with that one.
If you click on it, it's miles. But by the way, 128s, if you don't go up to 135, 128s are more reliable and really pretty cheap.
Yep.
And you can really have fun with a 128. It's still a pretty good motor and it's much more reliable.
75,000 miles.
Yeah, a lot of miles. Looks like I had an accident too on the car.
I mean, I wouldn't buy one for 5 probably, but
but the point
you can get nice.
What that car is going to turn into a track car, which by the way, it's great at that too, because it's a light little platform and you can pull a lot of stuff out of it.
Yep.
But a good stick 128 is hovering around 10, and that's a pretty damn good car for that money.
That really is. Man, it's nice that cars depreciate again.
I know, cars are cheap. Let's buy them. Speaking of that, let's move on to our Q&A.
Wait,
we have our Q&A.
Let's do it.
We have our Q&A sponsored by Kennan and his M5.
There's no money left to sponsor.
He doesn't have money to sponsor yet. We got to sponsor him.
We got to sponsor Kennan's M5. We could put Cars and Bids logos all over it. Remember, for our Q&A, go to carsandbids.com, click on the Communities tab at the top. We will have a post there that asks for your questions for next week's pod, and we will answer the top upvoted questions, even if they are bad. We'll answer them. I have taken the top upvoted questions, and the first question is bizarre, but I'm answering it because it's the top upvoted question from Sherbert Zip. That's Filippo's alter ego. You have to choose one. Go to a dealer and buy a BZ4X, or it doesn't matter what the second one is. We'll take the second one, but or lose the opportunity to review the Italdesign Columbus. It would be very sad if I couldn't review the Italdesign Columbus, but there is literally nothing on this earth that could make me buy a BZ4X, even if they were free and contained a genie with 3 wishes.
What if it had 4 wishes?
Could I use one of my wishes to return the BZ4X and never see it again?
Ooh,
that's a good question.
And by the way, I apologize. I'm not referring it to it properly. The lowercase b, uppercase Z, number 4, uppercase X.
How confident are you that that is the correct capitalization?
Completely confident. That's the only way I refer to the car in my personal life.
I just call it the Subaru Solterra. All right.
Subaru Solterra. Okay, next question from Oh Yes Yes. This is a great question, and I will answer it while you two think. because I've already thought about it. What is the most beautiful, normal pedestrian car, specifically focusing on things that non-car people drive? Like, what is a very beautiful car that is just a regular car? And we've probably internalized it, but a very beautiful, just sort of normalized car. You see?
Current production?
Like recent.
I'll let you have whatever you need, Kennan.
But my immediate answer was the last gen Volvo S60.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good.
Like in like one of the good colors or a reasonable trim.
Yeah, that's a good.
I guess it's 2 ago because the S60 gen has ended, but you get the point.
That's a good one. I always thought that when the Ford Fusion, when they went to the Aston Martin looking girl, I thought was a really beautiful car.
That is a nice looking car. I totally agree. I'm going to blow your mind with a left field one. Pull up a picture of a 2002 Mitsubishi Galant.
Yeah, that's a great looking car. You're right, 100%.
Now, if we didn't know that this car was utter and complete trash, which it was even in 2002,
it's a great looking car, though.
Would you not think that this is a pretty nice looking sedan?
Yeah, I mean, like, look at that press. That looks bad, but the press photo looks
good. The press photo. Give me alloys. Give me alloys. That was a nice looking car.
It really was.
That may have been some sort of Giugiaro situation. The correct answer to the question, though, is, of course, the Peugeot 406 Coupe, which actually someone responded in the comments of this question, and that is the correct answer. The 406 Coupe is one of the most beautiful, like, cars that a regular person could buy that has ever.
Agree with that.
You're wrong.
You said 406?
Yeah, 406.
The 406 Coupe is probably the most beautiful, like, car that a regular human can purchase.
Yeah.
Magnificent. Simple lines, just an incredibly good-looking car.
Also, didn't we learn that it could become a
Ferrari 360? Yeah.
Not necessarily an upgrade over the styling, I guess.
I'm trying to think
No, it
about
would be a downgrade. That's so true. That is such a good point. You take your car from beauty to frog, from prince to frog.
What's the best looking SUV?
Oh, that's a good XJ Cherokee. A late XJ Cherokee Country or Classic is probably the answer.
Yeah,
probably that.
Maybe that's fair. I'll accept that.
P38 if it wasn't trash.
Range Rover Classic or P38 looks wise.
Range Classic. Although the question does specifically say what a normal person would drive. Getting into enthusiast territory with those kinds of cars. But an XJ Cherokee is a nice looking car.
GMT 800.
Yeah. Good. What 95? A 95 to 01 Tahoe is a really
400. Yeah.
I think the Aviator's a very good looking.
The Aviator is a great looking SUV.
So.
Yes, it is.
The current one.
Yeah, the current one. To be clear, yeah.
We're not talking about the mid 2000s Aviator. That's for sure.
No, definitely.
Okay, next question. And this is a great question. This is the best question we've ever been asked. From Emin Tron. Q for all. What is the worst ever and best ever car from Ferrari, Porsche, or Lambo? Let's go brand by brand. Worst Ferrari. Quickly, Kennan. What is it?
Mondial 8. That's pretty easy.
Yeah, Mondial 8. Filippo, do you know any Ferraris? Or?
Yeah, no, we'll skip me for this one.
I think Mondial 8 is probably the answer. There are some that give it a run, but I think it's Mondial 8. Okay, worst Porsche.
914. Probably.
I don't think so.
The four-cylinder one.
I mean, there were 994s. What about a bathtub? What about we just do it? What about we just say 356?
I don't want to say it, but yeah, I mean the 356 is slow, expensive,
ugly.
Yeah, I'm not a big 356 fan. I think they're charming, but it's a jelly bean. But I don't know. I still think the 914 is probably
the 914 is getting a lot of love these days. It's like a lightweight, toss it around kind of thing.
Yeah, but it's all Volkswagen parts, and I don't know. I just have it stuck in my head that they've always been
turbo
cheap.
lately.
Yeah,
I think that it's. Dude, I'm just going to say 356. I don't even care about the blowback. It's an ugly bathtub looking thing, and you're around people who are incredibly particular and annoying.
Hey, Sean, you got your title for the episode, by the way.
Okay, it's the 356. Well, I don't think that's going to be very controversial among our audience. Okay, worst Lambo.
Rocco, probably.
Yeah.
Yelpa, maybe.
Yeah, it's one of the entry-level 70s, 80s cars, for sure.
I think it's probably the Urraco because it's kind of ponderous. I mean, it's
the market certainly thinks it's the Urraco. You know what's pretty bad too is the Urama. Although I think they're hilarious, but that's not necessarily a good thing.
I think so is the Urraco personally, but I mean, it's if you're gonna pick the worst, I mean, that kind of has I mean, that traditionally feels like the worst.
Wait. What about an Urus? What about just the straight Urus? What if we just say Urus?
Oh, because it's well, I don't know.
The Urus is like a legitimately pretty good car. Okay, what if? But it's not a Lambo. Okay, what about best Ferrari ever?
F50.
Probably. Yeah, I think I wouldn't say anything but F50.
Yeah.
I don't. By the way, F40 is probably the one I would most strive for. But F50s.
But F50s are about double the price, and the F40 is the most iconic without question. But the F50 gives you 6-speed V12 and a convertible Formula One drive engine.
Formula One trans, rarer. It's better to drive, much better to drive, etc. Yeah.
Uglier.
Uglier. Best Porsche ever.
Carrera GT, obviously, that's
easy.
Even I know it has to come up with my M5 and the Carrera GT have to come up with every podcast, but that is probably the best Porsche.
It just is. It just is. Certainly the 918 ain't the answer. Best Lambo ever.
Countach.
It probably is
because
Countach.
The Lamborghinis, yes, they have a lot of performance. They are all about style, though. That's the big differentiator from Ferraris. Ferrari obviously is about beauty and like refinement and all that. And Lambos are just like, give me doors that go up. It's like they just want like crudeness.
Find the style of, supercars for maybe ever.
Well, it still defines their own styling now. I mean, they're still doing the same thing that car said, because the Miura before it wasn't like that. That car came out and they still do that.
Don't forget.
Right. I'm talking about the original Countach, one of the 10 variants that exists of it. Or
you think you prefer the original? I don't know. I think a downdraft or an original or any round belly in my mind.
If I had to pick, probably I would agree with that. If you had to pick one of the cars, a round belly is probably some
sort of round belly Countach, either an original or a downdraft or mine or any or a low body 400. Filippo knows all the different versions.
I do, unfortunately. That's the sad part here.
That's probably the best one.
That's a great question, though, don't you think?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Would take all of them except for the Mondial 8. The Mondial 8 is...
You wouldn't take a Mondial 8? I would take any of the Lambos that we talked about. I think a Urraco would be fun to have.
Yeah, Mondial, like the T that we drove was a lot of fun, but the 8 has like legitimately no power.
Yeah, the T I wouldn't even put in the lowest tier of... like worse Ferrari. No. It was actually a pretty good car. Like I would start getting into non-Mondials long before I got to put the T near the worst.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But the 8 it's
tough. It was a tough time. Yes, it is. Doug is making a face with his tongue. So yeah, that is the Mondial 8.
Okay, next question. This is another good one from Goats on Boats. It's the year 2005 and you have to drive from New York to LA. What would each of you choose as a comfortable and suitable car for a cross-country drive? In 05.
The CL65 was in production in 05, wasn't it?
No, it's in 06.
But the S65 was.
No, they all, that whole 65 range came out in 06. I'm not going to let you have it.
Dang.
You can Google all you want and look confused all you want, but I'm right.
It came out, just for the record, in 04 in other markets, and I would have brought it into the US. Thank you very much.
You're driving from New York to LA, pal. All you got is what's on the table in 05. What would you choose?
Continental GT is a great choice.
That is I was going to say A8 W12. I don't know why, because it's the same powertrain and the Bentley didn't hit me. But yes, Continental GT is the answer, or Flying Spur, which maybe comes to 6th.
I don't disagree with any of that.
Better?
Nope. But the E39 M5, 2 years old, would have not been bad.
No way. With a stick. And I can get that Bentley, put my foot down and be through Iowa.
You're driving across the country. You're in 5th the entire 6. There's 6 years. There's 6 years. In 6 the entire time.
No way.
There's 6 years.
No way. That Bentley puts me through Iowa in an afternoon.
Iowa's not that big a state. That's like an accepted fact.
Yeah. 575 was still in production.
I wouldn't touch a sports car.
Yeah.
I just didn't drive.
You want comfort.
It is comfortable.
No, you want more comfort.
It's what it's built, literally what it is built to do.
You want more comfort.
I don't disagree. I'm just saying. I realized that car was around at the time.
Damn, now I wish I could go back to 05 and do this trip in a Flying Spur.
And I also realized Alex Royce set the cross-country record, I think, in 06 in his M5. It was about that time. But
yeah, I thought that question would inspire some more debate, but it didn't. Okay, We have specifically 2 more questions, and we're going to be quick about them. Next question from Can. Hey, Doug/Kennan, rank your top 5 BMW sedans of all time, and how do you guys rate the M Coupe? I'm not going to sit here and rank the top 5, but I think let's talk about what would be near our top.
Well, he called out M6 Grand Coupe, which
That's one of them.
That's one of them. Honestly, they made it with a manual too. They're super rare, but they did make the car with the manual, which is
conversions.
Yeah, he doesn't believe this, even though that we've sold one on Cars and Vids. So, yeah.
No, the M6 Grand Coupe is up there. It is the most beautiful modern BMW, and it's a sedan, and an headed stick, and it's an M car, etc. Obviously, Kennan's car is, in my opinion, the best.
Yeah.
E38.
I think E36 M3 would be up there.
Yep. A nice M345.
I loved those Euro. What else, Kennan? I mean, I think the F10 M5 is.
I was going to say F10 M5.
E38. Did you say E38?
Yeah, I said E38.
F10 M5 for sure.
F10 M5, yeah.
E38, I agree with.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's kind of about it.
Current
Actually, a regular old E30 sedan, just a regular 325i deserves to be on the list. That car mobilized BMW.
If the E60 were reliable, it should be on the list. That would be the coolest. That would be the best four-door BMW of them all. Will be the E60.
Absolutely.
I'm actually kind of into the current M3 now.
It's growing.
Yeah,
like
current
fungus,
M3
like
would be in my top 10 for sure. I don't know if it would break the top 5, but it'd be up there. Current M3 non-comp with a stick.
Yeah, I agree with that. So it's E39M, not in particular, E39, maybe E39 M5 at the top, maybe E38 after that, I guess.
E36 M3, Grand Coupe, and the new M3. Yeah, all of those. I mean, I F10 M5. That's about what I have. And I got to be honest, my list doesn't get a lot deeper than that. Like I don't. Yeah. It's not like I have a 20 list and I had to narrow it down.
Well, it's like they're all up here and then it drops off relatively fast.
Yeah.
In my mind.
And then eventually you end up at the E65.
Right.
That's probably.
Oh no! Eventually you get to the bottom, and that's where you're at.
Way down,
that
deeper and deeper.
Is probably my very lowest.
Yeah.
The E32 isn't exactly a dream car.
Fair.
Okay. Last question, and this goes back to our slideshow. Kennan, pull up the slide. Question from Scuderia Ferrarici. Hey, Doug, did you know there's an Askpark Owl Roundabout? It's I live about 1 kilometer from the factory, but no one has ever seen a running or functioning car. The one on the roundabout is a plastic 1:2 scale model. And he sent this picture from Google Maps, Google Earth, Google Street View. There it is. There's a real Askpark Owl out in the wild, except it's a fake one. It's a toy on a roundabout. But Kennan, you have doubted this car for too long.
Well, I really have, and boy, am I proved wrong here. Eat your words,
Kennan. Eat your words, or perhaps eat that Askpark Owl, which may be edible since it is not a car.
Right? Is it looking for mice? Do you think to get because it's an owl? Is it just waiting there for night so it can fly away from its nest? Maybe that's what it does at night. It flies away and it eats rodents around the countryside.
Who do you think they had to convince to let them put it in the middle of the roundabout, or do you think they just did it one day?
I think they just did it because it's the middle of a roundabout. Who cares? And B, it's too weird to not. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they thought it was a car that broke down.
Here's what I think. I think they went to the town council and they said, we'd like to put our Askpark Owl in the middle. And they said, what? Who? What? They said, Askpark. We make cars. We want to put an owl in the roundabout. And who are you again?
Right.
We're over down on Smith Road. We have Askpark. Owl? You want to put an owl in a roundabout? Isn't he going to fly away? I think that's probably how it went. And so they just did it.
Don't forget they also made some racist Japanese jokes in there. But
this is in Japan, isn't it?
No, this photo is in Italy.
They make the Askpark Owl in Italy? This
Correct.
whole time I was told it was Japanese.
It is a Japanese company, but they produce it in Italy. Get it right.
The company's Japanese and they're building the cars in Italy?
Yeah.
No wonder they haven't made any cars yet.
It is built by Manifattura Automobili Torino.
They build it in Turin?
Yeah, but incredibly, that's not where this picture is. So
They don't build it anywhere. Like this roundabout could be anywhere in the world. The car its car's not in production. Anywhere could be the Askpark Owl factory. Might as well be here.
Apparently that same factory, by the way, makes the new Stratos, the new Lancia Stratos.
I've seen those. That's a real car. Unlike the Askpark Owl, which is a figment of imagination, except in this roundabout, unfortunately, it is a 1/2 scale model, which means that we can't drive it. Also because it doesn't exist.
I'm so confused by why it's in this roundabout. Because based on this, it's in Abruzzo, which is a very different region than when it's actually built outside of Turin.
So it's just a random roundabout.
Just for you, take your little Volkswagen Lupo 1.1 diesel 3-cylinder when you're in Italy and drive to this roundabout and see the Askpark Owl in person. I implore you.
Absolutely love to do that, but first I'm going to find the roundabout where this happens, where this exists, see if it's still there.
Okay, that's the end of our podcast today. Filippo's going to spend the rest of his day on this topic. Kennan, thanks for playing, and please never in your entire life spend $13,000 on your car again. And commenters, please tell Kennan that I'm right.
Yeah, I will do my best to avoid doing that again.
And Kennan, hey man, by the way, good luck in your league bowling match tonight. Good night, everybody. Thank you, Filippo.